which will mark the president's final report on the state of the nation before leaving Parliament. And the 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic will be officially dissolved on Monday, the 6th of January, 2025. And on the same day, the 9th Parliament will convene at 11 p.m. to elect a speaker and 2 deputy speakers. And a statement from the Parliamentary Service announced that the speaker-elect and the newly elected members of Parliament will be sworn in at midnight, transitioning the legislature to its next term. And then to ensure smooth coverage of the events, of course, Parliament has advised media personnel to secure accreditation in accordance so that they will be allowed entry into the House. And as these parliamentarians converge, it is worthy to note that there are still some outstanding constituencies which are yet to declare who has won that seat. And not long ago, Domi Kwabinya was declared for NDC's Eleklim Akrugu after a long battle as to who won it. So those are live visuals you see on your screen right now, and you can see the Chief Justice in your shot. That is Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu there. The Speaker has vacated his seat temporarily as we speak now, but the President has made his way into the chamber and should be arriving any moment from now into the House to deliver his final State of the Nation address. And it's worthy to be reminded also that just yesterday, the New Patriotic Party announced their leadership going into the 9th Parliament, and Alexander Afenyomakin, who is the outgoing majority leader, will become the new minority leader, and Patricia Appiagyei will become the new deputy minority leader. Ano Dompre will become the new minority chief whip. Habib Idrisu will become the first deputy minority whip. Jerry Ahmed Shaib, who is the MP elect for Weja Bawe constituency, will become the new second deputy minority leader. So that's the leadership structure of the MPP heading into the 9th Parliament of the 4th Republic there. And that was announced just yesterday at a NEC meeting by the party's executive election review committee, and they've set up a committee to conduct a post-mortem on the party's participation and performance in the recently concluded 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. And that's where they announced the new leaders for the House. Alexander Afenyomakin will be returning as a leader of the House, but this time around he will be on the minority side, and he will be assisted or deputized by Patricia Appiagyei. And then Frank Ano Dompre will become the new minority chief whip in the 9th Parliament. Habib Idrisu will become the first deputy minority leader. And then Jerry Ahmed will become the second deputy minority whip. Habib Idrisu, first deputy minority whip as well. We should be expecting the president to make his way into the House any moment from now to address Ghanaians on the state of the nation and tell the public or account for his stewardship for the past 8 years, what he has done and what he's leaving behind for Ghana. And I remind you again that the topics he's likely to highlight will include the country's macroeconomic indicators, which is the GDP or gross domestic product growth. It will also include inflation, how he has managed inflation, It will include gross international reserves, policy objectives, job creation, and infrastructural development across the various sectors of the economy. Williams Pepra, who is with the Andrews University in Michigan, all the way in the United States. Professor Pepra, I believe you're still with me. We were talking about President Akufo-Addo's last State of the Nation's address last year, where he spoke about the performance of the economy post-COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war. And we were talking about the fact that the president late last month told the president-elect John Mahama that the economy grew by 7.2% in the third quarter of last year. But many are saying that it is not really reflective in their pockets. Why is that?
Ken, so as we were discussing and I was saying, GDP is not the only, and should not only be the indicator to talk about an economic growth. I've talked about the inflation trajectory and then also the currency impact. To really see it, if it's reflecting in people's pockets, is based on employment creation. We have seen that the president from their narration in the last SONA, they talked about creating employment for about 170,000 youth. But if you look at a country where every year we have about 250,000 youth graduating from our tertiary institutions, and they have only be able to create 170,000, it points to a high unemployment rate. Ghana Statistical Service put it around 14% youth unemployment rate. So indeed, GDP growth is increasing, but it's not reflecting on the line of employment. The main drivers of our GDP growth has been from the extractive industry, the oil, and then recently the gold industry. These industries do not really create employment, even though their value in terms of monetary value adding to the trade surplus or in terms of our trade goes very high. So we have not seen this improvement in people's pocket because there is high unemployment rate in the country. So that is where the government missed that agenda. They were just only looking at one indicator, forgetting about the GDP, the growth in unemployment. So this is a major factor.
Right.
Again, you could also see that apart from the unemployment rate, cost of living has really gone high, and this is tied into our inflation approach. Ghana has been an import-driven economy. We were hoping that the president had two main policies: planting for food and for the job, and then also industrialization, one district, one factory could work. We can all attest to it that in the last 8 years, these two policies failed the government. And once it fails the government, that is why we could not change the structure of our economy from an import-driven economy. So we had been relying on import even for food, and this is seen in the Ghana Statistical Service data. Food inflation has been a major concern, and the government failed to address it. And then also the industrialization agenda, the government only focused on roads. So last year, you remember they said that they are the government that have constructed more roads than any other government. Right. If the road project really happened, road construction would have led to a little bit of employment, though it is not formal employment, but informal employment is also employment, but we could not see that. We were also hoping that the government Agenda 111 projects, which the government talked about it from 2001 up to 2024, we could not see most of them being completed and materialized in turning around our health sector. These projects are still ongoing. So that is why we are also seeing that there's a lot of high unemployment rate. If these projects had materialized, a lot of people also citizens who have completed our health institutions, nurses, doctors, pharmacists, those in the health industry would have gotten employment, but this has not materialized. So these are the major indicators. The last part which has killed the country and which really killed the country is our debt burden. The Ghana government, I mean, this is an obvious fact. We borrowed more than we needed. And we had to do a debt restructuring agenda.
Yes.
Then this worsened the whole condition for our country. So if a country does a debt restructuring which affects domestic and external, it really points to the fact that that is the worst situation that a country can go. You moved from bankruptcy to insolvency. You cannot even pay your debt.
Right.
It's so many things happening in the economy which needs our attention. And so this is to me, from my perspective, GDP growth should not only be the factor. And I'm hoping that the incoming government will pay attention to these indicators that we have mentioned, that growth must be seen to create employment and not any other employment, decent employment where the living condition of the Ghanaian citizen will be improved.
Right.
That is what we are hoping that the next government should focus on.
You are a lecturer. I want to find out from you, what's your assessment of President Akufo-Addo's handling of the economy during his 8 years reign as president? If you were to score him from 1 to 10, what would you be scoring him?
The verdict is by the election. 16 regions, only 3 voted for the president. So, and if I equate the 16 to 10, I only give him 3 out of 10.
The vice president, you mean?
I'm saying the president, the whole government, the New Patriotic Party, their verdict is the scaling or the assessment is the one that has been done by the election. 16 regions, they won 3. So I cannot give any contrary verdict based on what the Ghanaian people has voted. The Ghanaian, he won 3 regions out of the 16. So if I equate it, which is about 18.5% in terms of percentage, so
that's a fail, right?
I mean, it's a big fail. And then that's what I'm saying. The indicators I give is how we measure a government. Just that even if you look at the IMF, when they write, they are more the words they use are more refined. But for us who understand some of the terminologies in the language, that is it. It's a big fail.
Right.
18.5% for the government.
But most of us who argued that what happened can really not be blamed solely on them because COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine war had a devastating impact all over the world. So they are really solely not to blame, don't you think?
So the mark of a good manager is how you're able to manage unforeseen circumstances, how you're able to prepare to meet situations that you are not prepared for. And even if you are not prepared for it, when you are navigating through that circumstances, how do you position yourselves? So COVID came, it affected the whole world. We were lucky to receive a lot of inflows. World Bank, IMF, we received roughly $2 billion US. How did we manage our affairs? From a report, which is the Ghana the audit report on our COVID funding, We received roughly 22 billion Ghana cedis. We spent roughly 11 billion Ghana cedis. So even though COVID was worse in terms of the amount of money we received as a support for our economy, we received more than we needed. How did we use that fund? That is where the assessment comes in. We realized that we spent the money on areas that did not really help us to turn the economy around. At the time the government wanted to even to do something, they said they will impact the economy with 88 hospitals. Then they changed it to 111 hospitals. To me, it was so ambitious. If I were to be in the government, I would have said, can we focus on only 16 hospitals, make sure that we complete them within the time for each region. It would have been more visible, and then also look at how do we create or support industries that have suffered because of the COVID. The government tried to give some. At the time I was in Ghana, I was working with Valley View University as a chief finance officer. The government brought in, some said that all private universities and other institutions should apply for funding. We applied, we never got it. A lot of institutions applied for that fund to be able to help them to survive. We did not. So most companies, what they did was to do retrenchment, layoffs for them to survive. So that worsened the unemployment situation. So these are the conditions. We were not able to manage our affairs very well during the COVID period, even though we received a lot of funding or money from IMF and other things. By the time we realized, let me point out, if it was even during the COVID period that we borrowed more than we needed. The Bank of Ghana gave us 10 billion Ghana cedis. And go back and see my writings and some interview I did, and I mentioned that act alone, the Ghana government called it overdraft. If you remember the late Deputy Finance Minister, that was his term. And I said that was what caused the high inflation. Because when the Bank of Ghana started printing money of 10 billion, you fueled the inflation. And indeed it happened. So in 2022, 2023, our inflation was up the roof. We were now moving to 38%, getting to 54%. And this is as a result of the central bank printing money of 10 billion Ghana cedis to the government. So we asked ourselves, what did we use that money for? I'm going to say something. Last night I listened to the governor of the Bank of Ghana. He explained it in a technical term, but I'm going to speak in the layman's term.
Okay.
So he said that that money that they printed was to support the government, just to help the government to pay its debt. We borrowed too much that we were only borrowing to pay our interest. We were not even generating the needed resources or funding with our taxes to even pay the interest on our debt. So the Bank of Ghana had to step in, and he used a word, we were at our worst point. So the governor, and we know, the lender of last resort is the Bank of Ghana. So they needed to come in. So the 10 billion they gave went to government, and government used it to service its debts. And that debt was not even the principal. From the worst of the Bank of Ghana, we were using it to pay our interest. So he said, when the IMF came in, and remember, I was the first person in Ghana at the time, said that we were having the worst liquidity challenges and we needed to go to IMF. At the time we went to IMF, using the words of Professor Bobkin, we were already on going to the ICU.
Okay. Prof, kindly hold on for me again. It appears the president is finally arriving in the chamber. You can see in your shot the Speaker of Parliament. That's the man in white. You can also see the Vice President, Dr. Mamadou Bawumia, there. They've all arrived in the chamber.
address. On your behalf, I want to warmly welcome His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, to the House. Before I invite him to perform a very important constitutional duty, kindly allow me to acknowledge the presence of the following people. His Excellency, the President, is ably supported in the performance of this duty by His Excellency, the Vice President, His Excellency Mahmoud Bawumia, have the presence of Her Lordship, the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Tukonu, and for sure we have the presence of the spouse of His Excellency the President, Her Excellency Rebecca Akufo-Addo. And His Excellency the Vice President is with his better half, the spouse, Her Excellency Samira Bawumia. And I have with me my wife, the Left Honorable Madam Alice Ajua Yunus. Her Excellency, our Ladyship, the Chief Justice, is accompanied by her spouse, Mr. Francis Tokunu. We also have with us the Chief of Staff, Honorable Akusia Frema Osei Opare. We could not be joined by the chairperson of the Council of State, by his ably represented by our own veteran politician, lawyer, the person of Mr. Sam Okudzeto, Senior Advocate of Ghana. We have with us the evergreen former President, His Excellency John Akufo-Addo, it's very important on your behalf. I thank him for always being with us here in this house. He is always present anytime we have an important function in Parliament, and we are extremely grateful to you, Your Excellency. We also have another very important partner of us. She is always also ever present anytime we have an activity here. I'm referring to Her Excellency, the former First Lady, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. And we have with us here almost all members of the diplomatic corps that are here with us, and definitely you can see them at the important visitors public gallery. The heads of the various security services are all here with us, and we have a number of chiefs and queen mothers present in this house. We are blessed with the presence of our religious leaders who actually keep us healthy by always praying for us and making sure that the blessings and favor of the Almighty God remains with us forever and ever. With this, I'll now proceed to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, to deliver his message on the state of the nation. Your Excellency, you may do so now. Honorable members, please. This is a very important occasion, and you are in the house we refer to as August House, House of Honor and Dignity. We expect nothing apart from honorable behavior from you, and please, let's listen to His Excellency in absolute silence. I thank all of you for your compliance.
Mr. Speaker, as my constitutionally mandated period as President of our country nears its very end, I come before this august House to perform my last official public duty. I'm grateful for the opportunity to give an accounting of my time in office, spell out the highlights of the state of our nation, and place on record the Ghana I'm handing over to my successor. In accordance with protocol and convention, it is good to see that my wife, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia, Second Lady Samira Bawumia, the spouse of Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Alice Adjoa Jonas Bagden, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokulu and spouse, and justices of the Supreme Court, the representative of the chairperson, Mr. Sam Okujeto, and members of the Council of State, Chief of Staff in the Office of the President, the Honorable Akufo-Addo Parry, and officials of the Presidency, Secretary to the Cabinet, Ambassador Mercy Deborah Karakari, Chief of Defense Staff of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Thomas Opon Pipra, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, and the various service chiefs are all present. The Speaker, the House is also duly honored by the welcome attendance of the former President of the Republic, John Ajikun Kufuor, former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyemang-Rawlings, and the Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps. So, Speaker, before I commence my message on the state of the nation, I want to put on record that I'm deeply saddened by the devastating fire at Kantamanto Market, which took place yesterday, and has left many traders and their livelihoods in ruins. My thoughts and prayers are with those affected, and I extend heartfelt sympathies to the hard-working traders who have lost their goods and investments. Government stands with you and will work with relevant agencies to ascertain the causes of the fire and to provide the needed support. As a nation, let us unite in compassion and solidarity to help those who have suffered losses. Together, we can extend a helping hand to our fellow Ghanaians in need during this challenging time. The Speaker, it is important to state at the outset that serving the Ghanaian people as President has been the greatest honor of my life. It has been one of great challenges and even greater triumphs, one that has demanded every ounce of my energy, commitment, and love for our beloved country. My vision has always been to see a Ghana that is self-reliant, prosperous, and united, a beacon of hope, democracy, and opportunity in Africa and beyond. That vision remains undimmed, and I'm confident that the strides we have made together will propel Ghana to even greater heights. Mr. Speaker, the first responsibility of a government is the safety and security of the state and its people. I'm happy to report that our country's territorial integrity is intact and all our borders are secure. In a neighborhood of widespread instability, it is no longer an assumption that we can make that our land will be safe and secure. Ghana, by the grace of God, remains the only country in the neighborhood that has not fallen victim to terrorist violence. It has taken a lot of concerted effort, and dare I say a lot of money, to enable us to protect our country from the ravages of the variety of terrorist groups operating and destabilizing other countries in the neighborhood. I wish to pay great homage to the security services and their ministerial leaders for the work they do every day to keep us safe. Mr. Speaker, it gives me no great pleasure to state that an important and integral part of the fabric of our society and the hallmark of our traditions, chieftaincy, continues to be a source of insecurity and destabilization. Upon coming into office, we worked hard with considerable assistance from the Committee of Eminent Chiefs, Otumfuo Asantehene, the Nairi, and the Yabonwura, to bring finally a resolution to the conflict which had blighted the ancient kingdom of Gabon for many, many years. Bringing peace to Gabon remains one of the high watermarks of my time in office, and I had been looking forward to counting it with pride as the top of the list in resolving chieftaincy disputes and conflicts. Unfortunately, the sad situation in Boko must necessarily dampen any enthusiasm about the resolution of chieftaincy problems elsewhere. It is a matter of great regret and distress to me personally that in spite of our best efforts, the Boko conflict remains unresolved. Boko is unhappily not the only area of chieftaincy conflict. In judging from the experience of other parts of the country, I will have to mark chieftaincy as a growing source of insecurity that will continue to require a lot of attention. It is clear that part of that process is the need to strengthen the capacities of the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs and the Peace Council, the two frontline institutions responsible for dealing with chieftaincy and other disputes. Mr. Speaker, in my inaugural speech at my swearing in my first term on 7th January 2017, and early on in that term, I made a public commitment to tackle galamsey, the phenomenon that had been ravaging our environment and destroying our lands and water bodies in the pursuit of mining our gold. I knew and was very much aware that fighting galamsey was not a universally popular position for a president to take, but I felt strongly enough about the need to protect our environment to say I was prepared to put my presidency on the line in the defense of our lands and water bodies. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, the fight against galamsey led directly to the loss by my party of several parliamentary seats in the 2020 elections, and to the makeup of this 8th Parliament, which affected the implementation of my policy agenda and impacted the second term of my presidency. I welcome the many loud converts to the fight against galamsey that suddenly appeared in the run-up to the 2024 elections. And I pray that more and more of us get to embrace the need for the protection of our lands and water bodies. As I have stated on numerous occasions, the fight against galamsey is not a fight against mining or the extraction of the gold the Almighty has so generously endowed us with. But we owe it to future generations of Ghanaians to extract our minerals in a manner that protects our lands and water bodies. I'm happy to be able to say that we have implemented some of the boldest and most progressive policies in the mining, forestry, and land sectors. As a result of these policies, we overtook South Africa as the leading producer of gold on the continent and have consistently increased gold production to reach an unprecedented 4 million ounces last year. Not only have we revamped dormant mines like the Obuasi and Bibiani mines, we have also worked to deliver the Cardinal Namdi mine, the first large-scale mine in northern Ghana, and the first greenfield gold mines in our country in more than a decade, with the ongoing construction of new mines in Ahafo by Newmont and Upper West by Azuma Resources. To add value to these volumes of minerals, we have constructed, through a public-private partnership, a 400-kilogram capacity gold refinery here in our country. We've also concluded discussions with the parent company of Ghana Manganese Company Limited for the construction of a $450 million United States dollars manganese refinery at Nsuta. Moreover, the establishment of the Ghana Integrated Aluminum Development Corporation and the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation has laid the groundwork for the industrialization of many of our natural resources. These entities are expected to generate significant revenue, create jobs, and enhance the value addition of our natural wealth. Each of these initiatives was guided by the vision to harness Ghana's wealth for the benefit of her people, ensuring a legacy of sustainable development for future generations. We continue to work to increase the forest estate of our country. Under the Ghana Forest Plantation Strategy, some 121,000 hectares of degraded forests were cultivated between 2017 and 2023. And under the Green Ghana project, over 52 million trees have been planted in just 4 years of its implementation. In 2023, Ghana became the second country in Africa and the third in the world to receive results-based payments from the World Bank Carbon Fund for reducing emissions. Under the Ghana Cocoa Red Plus program, we've also completed all the necessary steps under the voluntary partnership agreement with the European Union. And effective June this year, Ghana will become the first African country and the second globally to issue forest law enforcement, government, and trade licenses. Mr. Speaker, if arguments still rage over what there is to show for the fight against galamsey and the effects of irresponsible mining, there can be no such arguments about the introduction of the free SHS and free TVET programs. Another policy that did not have universal approval when I sought to introduce it on coming into office. However, I believe this is one of the rare occasions on which we can use the word transformational without any danger of abusing the word. We have transformed education, and there can never be a reversal, of the fact that some 5.7 million young people have gained access to secondary education who would otherwise not have had the opportunity but for free SHS and free TVET. Indeed, my administration has also prioritized technical and vocational education and training, TVET, establishing 34 new TVET institutions and upgrading 62 existing ones to equip our youth with 21st century skills. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud that we were brave enough to have started the free SHS policy at the beginning of my first term and resisted the calls for a gradual introduction. I'm glad that we've removed from the Ghanaian mindset the belief that secondary school education is only for people from certain households and families. From 2020, when the first cohort of free senior high school candidates sat for the WACC exam, Ghana has consistently recorded over 50% of candidates scoring A1 to C6 in all 4 core subjects. This marks a stark improvement compared to the years prior, particularly the period when pass rates in core subjects were largely below 50%. This year's results, the 2024 results, have maintained the laudable trend from 2020. Indeed, only 51.6% of candidates achieved A1 to C6 in English in 2016, compared to a much higher 69.52% in 2024. For integrated science, the pass rate improved from 48.35% in 2016 to 58.77% in 2024. Mathematics demonstrated the most dramatic progress, rising from a mere 33.12% pass rate in 2016 to an impressive 66.86% in 2024. Social studies followed a similar trend, improving from 54.55% in 2016 to 71.53% in 2024. Moreover, the 2023 WACC results stand out as the best in the history of the examination. No amount of shouts will displace data. It will not happen. The data is there. As the best in the history of the examination, with record-breaking performances across all core subjects. It is obvious then that our reforms have not only expanded access, but have also enhanced the quality of education. I am glad that we have elevated TVET and STEM to where they properly belong, and that they will no longer be seen as the option for those who cannot make the top grade. We have embarked on the development of 20 STEM centers and 10 model STEM senior high schools across the nation, and also constructed 186 new science laboratories nationwide. The other day, I commissioned the Accra STEM Academy, which is destined to play a key role in the future of STEM education in our country. These institutions are designed to provide hands-on learning experiences with cutting-edge facilities. From coding to robotics, our students are being prepared for the demands of the 21st century. It has not been without challenges, but the results are evident. I'm delighted with the infrastructure transformation that has taken place on our school and university campuses. This was displayed in a dramatic fashion a few weeks ago when the Ministry of Education staged the simultaneous commissioning of 80 new educational facilities across the nation. I do not suggest that we have finished what we set out to do, but we have certainly established what a kindergarten is supposed to be like. We've established what a primary school should be like. We've set standards for what constitutes a JHS. Science laboratories are now integral parts of junior and senior high schools, and computer tablets are available for all school children. Mr. Speaker, now we know and accept that a public school building can be painted in beautiful and attractive colors. Mr. Speaker, we have aimed to make the learning and teaching atmosphere a happy one for all school children and their teachers. We spend a lot of resources on education in the past 8 years, and I'm persuaded that it is money well spent, and the long-lasting benefits for our society will provide the justification for the expenditure. Mr. Speaker, it is impossible to make any meaningful accounting of my time in office without reference to the COVID pandemic. With the passage of time, it is easy to play down the extent of the catastrophe that brought our world to a thundering halt and brought wild animals to lounge on highways. Do we remember that airports around the world were closed, and some 2 years after the formal end of the pandemic, worldwide shipping and cargo freight have not returned to normal? Schools were closed around the world, and it took courage to reopen our schools. And there are parts of the world that have not yet made up for the closure of schools necessitated by the pandemic. Probably, Mr. Speaker, the most poignant aspect of those times was not the fear that gripped us all, but the fact that we were unable to hold hands or hug each other, and we could not have funerals for our dead. It is worth emphasizing the point that with the help of the Ghanaian people and the guidance of the Almighty, we managed the pandemic in our country to the admiration of the whole world. Indeed, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Ghana emerged as a leader in Africa, managing the crisis with a balanced approach that prioritized lives and livelihoods. We were among the first countries on the continent to secure vaccines and roll out a comprehensive vaccination program. The establishment of our own vaccine manufacturing facility under the supervision of the National Vaccine Institute a body created by Act of Parliament in collaboration with international partners, is a testament to our resolve to build resilience in our healthcare system. In the spirit of transparency and accountability, a parliamentary audit was conducted on the accounts relating to COVID-19 expenditures, reflecting my government's attachment to accountability and the effective stewardship of public resources during a time of crisis. However, the consequences of the COVID-19 upheavals on all aspects of our lives have gone way beyond what anyone could have imagined, and we're still dealing with the effects on the economy. But let me first deal briefly with the effects on the health sector. This pandemic showed up some of the alarming shortcomings of our health delivery system, and we've strived to seek remedies to ensure that we're reasonably prepared to meet the next emergencies. The most important intervention is the Agenda 111 project we have embarked upon that aims to place a hospital in every district. Out of the 101 district hospitals and 2 psychiatric hospitals on the project list, there are 99 district and 2 psychiatric hospitals where contractors are deployed and work is in progress. I'd hoped that construction would be completed on all of them, but that, alas, was not to be. I'm pleased to report that on December 5th, I had the utmost pleasure to commission 3 of the district hospitals. Progress of works on the other 98 active sites range from 5% for sites whose work commenced recently to 95% at other sites. I'm hoping that the incoming Mahama administration will ensure that the project is completed to put our health infrastructure on a sound footing. Furthermore, we launched the National Ambulance Services Revitalization Program, increasing the number of ambulances from 55 barely functioning ambulances to over 300, ensuring timely emergency response and saving countless lives. The strides in healthcare reflect our collective commitment to build a system that prioritizes the dignity, health, and well-being of every Ghanaian. Furthermore, we've revived the National Health Insurance Scheme, which at one point before I came into office appeared to be reverting to the days of cash and carry. The number of subscribers has risen from 10.6 million in 2016 to 17.9 million at the end of 2023. With the renewal of subscriptions being facilitated by a tap on the mobile phone and the scope of the scheme being broadened to include treatment for sickle cell disease, kidney dialysis, and childhood cancers. Mr. Speaker, our economy took a bigger hit from the COVID-19 pandemic and the ensuing consequences than had been anticipated. And in 2021 and 2022, we were in unaccustomed trouble. Our economy, which in my first term had been widely acknowledged to have performed creditably, marked by the longest period of single-digit inflation, 7% average GDP real growth rate, and strong external balances, was on its knees. The government's difficulties in Parliament, with the slimmest of majorities, gave the impetus to the international rating agencies to trash us on their assumption that we would struggle to get financial policy measures passed through the legislature. We faced the problems we encountered with equanimity, took a deep breath, and decided to apply for an IMF-supported program, dubbed Post-COVID-19 Program for Economic Growth, PCPEG, in the middle of 2023. The implementation of the program so far has gone well, even as it has been challenging. We have passed successfully through 3 successive reviews of program implementation by the IMF board, with the most recent review approved on 2nd December 2024, leading to the disbursement of $360 million United States dollars. The fund has therefore disbursed a cumulative $1.9 billion United States dollars to date. In the moment, I am able to say with confidence that the crisis is over, that the economy has recovered strongly and faster than projected. In order for me to be able to make this assertion, I must make reference to the debt restructuring exercise. It affected many bondholders and was one of the most challenging decisions my administration had to undertake. It was not a choice made lightly, as we were acutely aware of the personal and financial hardships it would impose on individuals, families, and institutions across the country. Many citizens had invested their hard-earned savings, and we fully understood the pain and sacrifices this exercise demanded. However, it became evident that without such bold and decisive action, our economy would have faced an even greater crisis with far-reaching consequences for every Ghanaian. This restructuring was essential to address unsustainable debt levels and to create the fiscal space needed to stabilize the economy and lay the groundwork for future growth. It was critical in ensuring that Ghana could meet her financial obligations, regain the confidence of international and domestic investors, and restore our economic credibility. Through the resilience and understanding of the Ghanaian people, coupled with the strategic measures we implemented, we have been able to chart a path towards the recovery that is underway. Today, we're witnessing the positive outcomes of the painful but yet necessary exercise. The economy is rebounding strongly. Our fiscal position is more stable, and our debt sustainability has significantly improved. These developments have provided a solid foundation for sustained growth and development, ensuring that the sacrifices made by bondholders and other stakeholders will not be in vain, but rather the basis of Ghana's economic revival. Mr. Speaker, the country is not broke, as some propagandists want us to believe. We're handing over the country with gross international reserves of almost $8 billion United States dollars. This is more than the $6.2 billion United States dollars of gross international reserves my administration inherited in 2017. Economic growth. The noise will not shut out the statistics. And I intend to put the statistics on the record of Hansa, no matter the amount of noise. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, economic growth.
Honorable members, the level of interruption is high. Please, honorable members, His Excellency the President is not out of order. Please. Honorable members, your statistics might be different from his, but that doesn't mean he's misleading the House. He's in order. Please, Your Excellency, continue.
The statistics cannot be different. There's only one set of statistics that the whole.
It cannot be different.
Your Excellency, truth is indivisible. Truth is indivisible. Is one and one only.
Your Excellency,
Thank you very much.
as an accomplished member of Parliament, you are out of order.
Mr. Speaker, economic growth has also returned to the pre-COVID trajectory with an impressive growth rate rising from 4.8% in the first quarter of 2024, 7% in the second quarter, and 7.2% in the third quarter. It is projected that this year's growth rate will be 6.3%, significantly higher than the 3.4% my administration inherited in 2017. The growth of the economy is further reflected in the growth of private sector credit. Private sector credit in nominal terms grew by 28.87% in October 2024, compared to the negative 7.5% growth recorded in the same comparative period of 2023. In real terms, growth in credit to the private sector improved to 5.5% compared to a contraction of 31.6% recorded in October 2023. It is further reinforced by improved external balances, with the current account balancing improving significantly to a surplus of 2.6% of GDP in the first 9 months of the year, compared to a deficit of 6.6% of GDP in 2016. In much the same way, the trade balance has improved and stands at a surplus of 3.85 billion United States dollars, compared with a deficit of 1.8 billion United States dollars in 2016. Headline inflation, which stood at 23% in November, is still very high, but this is coming down from 54% recorded in December 2022, following the effects of COVID-19 and other global economic pressures. Encouragingly, food prices have also begun to decline, bringing some relief to households and contributing to a reduction in the overall cost of living. Government has implemented significant measures to address the hardships that accompanied the economic difficulties. These include increased budgetary allocations towards the school feeding program, the capitation grant, the National Health Insurance Scheme, and the Livelihood Empowered Against Poverty program, LEAP. The stock of public and publicly guaranteed debt increased during the economic difficulties. However, the government is servicing its debts, honoring coupon payments for both domestic bonds and Euro bonds. Moreover, the debt levels are reducing, recording a significant reduction in the debt stock by 46.8 billion scanner CDs to 761.0 billion Ghana CDs in October 2024, from 807.9 billion Ghana CDs in September 2024. The public debt to GDP ratio, therefore, reduced from 79.2% in September 2024 to 74.6% in October 2024. This is expected to reduce further to 55% of GDP in net present value terms, a level that restores Ghana's debt sustainability. It is hoped that the new government will continue with the policies being implemented to achieve the debt sustainability target. I'm happy to inform the House that today, 3rd January 2025, my government will honor coupon payments to our Eurobond holders amounting to $346 million United States dollars. We cannot afford to default on our debt repayments. That's advice that I want to give to the incoming finance minister. These achievements demonstrate our firm commitment to the policies, structural reforms, and program objectives and targets under the program. Let me at this juncture state unequivocally that the banking sector cleanup undertaken by my administration was an act of necessity, not of vendetta. It was a bold and decisive intervention to safeguard the strength and integrity of Ghana's financial system. The illegalities and irregularities perpetuated by the affected banks and financial institutions are well documented and indisputable. These practices threaten the very foundation of our banking sector and jeopardize the hard-earned savings of millions of Ghanaians. Our actions ensure that not a single depositor lost their money, an unprecedented achievement in financial crisis management. Today, the results are there for all to see. A more robust, stable, and resilient banking sector capable of driving economic growth and supporting the aspirations of our people. It was a necessary decision to restore public confidence and secure the future of Ghana's financial sector. Mr. Speaker, my government recognized at the very outset that the fight against corruption required more than rhetoric. It demanded systemic, sustained, and strategic action. To this end, my government initiated a holistic program of legislative, administrative, financial, and technological reforms. Indeed, one of my most satisfactory moments as president was when we established the Office of the Special Prosecutor. For me, this was not just another government office. It was, and still is, a symbol of our determination to tackle corruption head-on. I wanted Ghanaians to know that no one, no matter their rank or status, would be above the law. Its creation was initially met with considerable skepticism in some quarters, but I believe now that there is general consensus that has been an important contributor to our anti-corruption efforts. During my first term, we passed the Witness Protection Act in 2018, creating a framework to safeguard individuals who cooperate with law enforcement, especially in corruption cases. Furthermore, the Criminal Offences Amendment Act 2020 elevated corruption from a misdemeanor to a felony, with harsher penalties of 12 to 25 years of imprisonment. We also enacted key laws, such as the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the Revenue Administration Amendment Act, and the Anti-Money Laundering Act, all of which have strengthened our institutional framework to combat corruption and ensure accountability. We ensured that all allegations of corruption leveled against appointees were duly investigated by independent institutions of state, which generally dismiss them as unfounded. Budgetary support for accountability institutions has also witnessed unprecedented increases. For instance, from 2017 to 2023, SRA's budget increased by 99%, Parliament's by 100%, the Office of the Attorney General by 162%, the Audit Service by 258%, and the police by 274%. These investments reflect my administration's commitment to empowering these institutions to discharge their mandates effectively, which means that the tools needed to exact accountability from all public office holders, including those of my own government, have been considerably sharpened. The application of these tools, whilst respecting as it should due process and the rule of law, however, should pose no problem, no fears for any honest public office holder. I remember the early days of these reforms when skepticism abounded. People asked, will this really make a difference? Today, the numbers speak for themselves. The Auditor General's report for 2023 showed a reduction of 5.2 billion cedis in financial irregularities, a 32% drop from the previous year. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. I've just explained to you. From the previous year, I just said so. Listen, open your ears and listen to me. Mr. Speaker, my government has undertaken impressive reforms to strengthen Ghana's judiciary, enhancing both capacity and accessibility. Key achievements include addressing court infrastructure challenges with the construction of 100 courthouses, 90 of which have been completed and are operational, making it the biggest single infrastructural intervention for the judiciary in our nation's history. The establishment of the Court of Appeal complex in Kumasi, along with 20 townhouses and a guest house for justices in the northern sector, now enables appeals from 11 regions to be handled locally, reducing delays in justice delivery. Additionally, the implementation of the e-justice system has digitized case management and streamlined processes, solidifying the judiciary's role as a bulwark of Ghana's democracy and development. Moreover, the Law House, a modern facility for the Office of the Attorney General, has now been completed. Mr. Speaker,
It appears somebody needs medical attention right now. The president has momentarily paused his address to the nation because one of the president's security detail is requiring medical attention as we speak right now. But of course, the president has been making a number of cases for his administration during his 8-year tenure as president of the country, and he says that the country is not broke, as some propagandists want us to believe. He's also been talking about the fact that 3 Agenda 111 hospitals were commissioned on the 5th of December, and the projects are at between 5 to over 90% stages of completion, and he hopes that the incoming administration will complete them. He also has been speaking about the National Health Insurance Scheme, where he says that when they took office, the subscriber numbers stood at 10 million, and now it is at 17 million. And that now it covers kidney dialysis, childhood cancers, and so on. He said the economy is recovering faster than it was initially projected. Right, let's return to Parliament and hear from the President.
Infrastructure development has been a cornerstone of this administration. The construction and rehabilitation of over 12,000 kilometers of roads have improved connectivity and reduced travel times. These projects have not only facilitated trade, but also enhanced access to essential services. It is fitting, therefore, to acknowledge that this administration has constructed more roads and interchanges than any other in our nation's history. In the Greater Accra region alone, we have completed the Pukwasi interchange, Tema Motorway Interchange Phase 1, the Bechebi-Lamte Interchange Phase 1, the East Legon Underpass, and recently, the Flower Pot Interchange. Beyond Accra, we have also delivered the first ever interchanges in the Eastern region at Suhum and in the Northern region at Tamale. Each of these projects tells a story of commitment, foresight, in a Ghana that is continuously moving forward. There are 14 additional interchanges currently underway across Ghana, at each at different stages of completion. In Greater Accra, we are building interchanges at Obetemi-Lamte Interchange Phase 2, Nungwa, Ajingrano, Bombaria, Pram, Dawenya, Savannah, and Tema Motorway Phase 2. In the Ashanti region, ongoing projects include the Swami Interchange Phase 1, Anumanje, Makro, Magazine New Road, Ebusiakura and Abrepo, as well as the PTC interchange in Takoradi in the Western region. These projects represent the scale of our ambition, a commitment to excellence and growth that knows no limits. Mr. Speaker, in aviation, we have expanded airports, including the construction of the Yakubu Tali International Airport in Tamale, the Prempeh I International Airport in Kumasi, the rehabilitation of the Sunyani Airport in Sunyani, and the completion of the Ho Airport in Ho. These projects position Ghana as a hub for regional air travel. Mr. Speaker, over the past 7 years, we have revitalized Ghana's railway sector, undertaking key projects to modernize and expand the network. Notable achievements include the rehabilitation of the 66-kilometer narrow-gauge Western Line from Kojokrom to Takwa, the construction of a 22-kilometer standard-gauge line between Kojokrom and Manso, and securing funding to extend the Western Line from Manso to Huni Valley, connecting to the port of Takoradi. Additionally, a 6-kilometer standard-gauge line in Kumasi is underway, and the Tema Mpakadan line has been completed. Progress of the Ghana-Burkina Faso Railway project further underscores efforts to enhance regional trade and integration. This weekend, we have made some good strides in improving the housing sector. Over the period, we built 1,070 affordable houses and broke ground for an additional 800 in the Greater Accra region. We've also established the National Home Ownership Fund, which is delivering 534 homes in Tema Community 22. We delivered the 1,000 homes to the security services and are delivering 600 homes for public servants through the Bungalow Redevelopment Program. Speaker, the transport sector has also seen the deployment of electric buses in major cities, reducing carbon emissions and aligning with our climate change commitments. These advancements signal Ghana's commitment to building a sustainable transport infrastructure for the future. Behind every completed road and bridge is the story of lives transformed, farmers reaching markets, students accessing schools, and families connected. Mr. Speaker, my government has prioritized the modernization of Ghana's maritime infrastructure, with the Takoradi Harbour standing as a shining example of this commitment. The port has been transformed into a world-class facility, enhancing its capacity to meet the demands of modern trade and of the oil and gas industry. In November 2024, I commissioned the state-of-the-art oil and gas services terminal, a $100 million investment, which serves as a hub for oil field operators, logistics service providers, and other key players in the energy sector. Additionally, I launched a dry bulk terminal and the Atlantic Services Container Terminal, diversifying the port's capabilities and solidifying its role as a critical player in inter-regional and international commerce. We've also begun the processes for the construction of another modern port at Kita. These efforts are positioning Ghana as a leading logistics and shipping hub in Africa, creating jobs, boosting investor confidence, and ensuring sustainable economic growth for our nation. Mr. Speaker, agriculture remains the backbone of our economy, and our investments in this sector have been transformative. Through the distribution of over 2.7 million bags of fertilizers and improved seedlings, we have increased crop yields and enhanced food security. For example, maize production increased by 110%, rice by 48%, and soybean by 150% between 2017 and 2023. The establishment of 140 agricultural mechanization centers and the rehabilitation of irrigation schemes have modernized farming practices and reduced dependence on rain-fed agriculture. The establishment of warehouse facilities under the One District, One House initiative has also helped reduce post-harvest losses by 30%. The net effect of these policies is that our agricultural GDP growth rate rose significantly from 2.7% in 2016 to an average of 5.7% in 2023. Our cocoa sector has also witnessed remarkable improvements, with productivity increasing from an average of 450 kilograms per hectare to 800 kilograms per hectare, making Ghana a leader in sustainable cocoa production. The living income differential policy, a policy agreed to by President Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire and myself, under the aegis of the Strategic Partnership Agreement between our two countries, which is a fixed premium of 400 United States dollars per ton, added to the selling price of cocoa beans, irrespective of fluctuations in market prices, ensure that our hard-working cocoa farmers receive a fairer share of the global value chain, indeed receiving the highest prices in the history of the cocoa industry in Ghana. We were told by the minority leader on the campaign trail and in the presence of the now president-elect that my successor will increase the price per bag of cocoa from the current 3,100 cedis to 6,000 cedis. Our farmers will be very happy when this pledge is realized. In the fisheries sector, Mr. Speaker, the construction of 12 landing sites and cold storage facilities across the coastal regions, along with the commissioning of the Jamestown Fishing Harbor and the Almina Fishing Harbor, has improved livelihoods and reduced post-harvest losses. These interventions have significantly boosted the incomes of our fisher folk and contributed to the sustainability of our marine resources. We have also enforced measures to combat illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, protecting our marine biodiversity for future generations, and proving the doubting Thomas wrong about our commitment to transforming the fisheries industry. This week, Ghana has made significant progress in expanding electricity access, with the electricity access rate increased to 88.85%, up from the 79.3% I inherited. In renewable energy, completed projects such as a 4-megawatt floating solar PV at Bui and a 15-megawatt solar PV at Kaleo, together with a 100-megawatt solar PV under construction at Bui and a mini-grid electrification program in Ada East, have advanced efforts to reach the 10% renewable energy target by 2030. Mr. Speaker, it is worth emphasizing that I inherited a nation plagued by doomsday, but I'm very happy to say that I leave office with the lights on. This achievement did not come without its challenges. When my administration assumed office, we inherited an energy sector legacy debt of $2.5 billion United States dollars. The Energy Sector Recovery Program, developed by government and the World Bank, projected that this debt would balloon to a staggering $12.5 billion United States dollars within 5 years if no decisive actions were taken. We knew that such a scenario would cripple the sector, undermine investor confidence, and plunge the nation back into darkness. Mr. Speaker, we got to work immediately. Through tough negotiations with independent power producers, prudent financial management, and targeted interventions, we've been able to stabilize the sector while keeping the lights on. I'm pleased to report that we've kept the energy sector legacy debt to $2.5 billion, the same level we inherited, and have averted the $12.5 billion debt scenario, despite the rising costs of energy production and the global economic challenges that have unfolded during my tenure. The energy sector has been truly transformed, and I'm leaving office confident that the foundations we have laid will serve this nation well for generations to come. Mr. Speaker, one of the most notable milestones of my administration has been the creation of 6 new regions: Western North, Ahafo, Bono East, Oti, Northeast, and Savannah. This historic achievement responded to decades of passionate advocacy by local communities for a governance structure that brings development closer to the people. Today, these regions stand as evidence of our commitment to equitable development, with enhanced access to public services, infrastructure, and economic opportunities for millions of Ghanaians. Additionally, my administration championed a bold vision for local governance by advocating for the election of Metropolitan, Municipal, and District Chief Executives, MMDCEs. Though the process was unfortunately aborted, I remain hopeful that in the not-too-distant future, this vision will become a reality. Such a reform would deepen democratic accountability and empower citizens to shape their local governance directly, ensuring that Ghana's democracy continues to grow stronger and more inclusive. Mr. Speaker, the youth are the heartbeat of our nation, and we have implemented programs to empower them. From the National Youth Authority reforms to sports infrastructure development, we've ensured that young Ghanaians have the tools and opportunities to thrive. The construction of some 150 AstroTurf pitches across the country and the rehabilitation of existing stadia have bolstered Ghana's standing as a hub for international sports, including hosting successfully, despite all odds, the 2023 All-Africa Games. Creating an entrepreneurial climate has been a cornerstone of my administration's vision for empowering Ghana's youth. From the establishment of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Programs, NEIP, in 2017, with a $10 million United States dollar seed fund, to the transformative Greenhouse Estate Project and Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center in 2020. We have supported 15,000 startups, trained 250,000 young entrepreneurs, and created over 100,000 jobs. Initiatives being implemented by the Ghana Enterprises Agency, GEA, like the Ghana Economic Transformation Program, the Hubs Grant and Acceleration Program, CAP-BUS, U-START, and the Ghana Cares Obantapa Program, have further strengthened this vision, benefiting some 1.6 million Ghanaians and dispersing over 2 billion cedis in loans and grants. These efforts have sparked innovation, created jobs, and laid the foundation for a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem, leaving a legacy of opportunity and growth. Mr. Speaker, in tourism, the Year of Return in 2019 and Beyond the Return initiatives attracted over 1.5 million visitors. These campaigns not only boosted our economy, but also strengthened ties with the African diaspora, positioning Ghana as a premier destination for cultural heritage and investment. The establishment of ecotourism sites and cultural heritage projects has further diversified our tourism offerings, attracting global attention. One of the significant undertakings in this sector has been the renovation of the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. This celebrated site, dedicated to the memory of our first president, Kwame Nkrumah, has been transformed into a world-class facility that honors his legacy and attracts visitors from around the globe. The renovations include modernized exhibits, improved infrastructure, and enhanced visitor experiences, ensuring that the mausoleum remains a symbol of Ghana's rich history and a source of inspiration for generations to come. As visitors walk through the mausoleum, they are reminded of the sacrifices and vision that built the foundations of our nation. The Nationalism Park, which I recently commissioned, and which commemorates other important personalities in our independence struggle, like Nii Kwabena Boni, Usuala Tamanche, and the legendary 3 ex-servicemen of the 1948 Christiansborg Crossroads shooting fame, Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odati Lampe, has also been added to this development, as will be the proposed Heroes Park, whose sword I cut recently, and whose purpose will be to celebrate the legendary Big Six of UGCC fame and other great figures of our path to freedom. Mr. Speaker, our security forces have been equipped with modern tools and training to safeguard the nation. The establishment of forward operating bases, such as the one I commissioned some 2 weeks ago in Ezinlibo, in the Western region, the barracks regeneration project, the equipping of the military and police, with the police receiving helicopters for the first time in our nation's history, the acquisition of advanced surveillance systems, and recruitment of over 10,000 police officers have enhanced our capability to combat threats and maintain peace. The successes of our anti-terrorism programs and cross-border security initiatives reflect our commitment to national and regional safety. In line with our commitment to aligning with international military norms and enhancing the authority of our top military officials, I'm pleased, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to announce the elevation of the Chief of the Defense Staff, TDS, to the rank of General, and the Chiefs of Staff, the Chiefs of Army Staff, Navy Staff, Air Force, and the Chief of Staff at the General Headquarters to the rank of Lieutenant General or its equivalent. These promotions, alongside our successes in anti-terrorism programs and cross-border security initiatives, position Ghana as a serious player in defense and bolster our international partnerships in peacekeeping and security. In communications, the digitization of public services, including the Ghana card, mobile money interoperability, and e-services, has transformed service delivery and improved transparency. These initiatives have positioned Ghana as a leader in digital transformation on the continent, with over 18 million Ghanaians enrolled in the National Identification System. The expansion of broadband connectivity to rural areas has bridged the digital divide, ensuring inclusive access to the opportunities of the digital economy. Every citizen's ability to engage with technology is a testament to our shared belief in progress and innovation. Mr. Speaker, we have tried to make real many of the slogans that have dominated our public discourse since independence. I'm proud to have approved visa-free travel to Ghana for all African passport holders with effect from the beginning of this year. This is a logical next step to the African Continental Free Trade Area and the workings of the largest trading bloc in the world. All these are essential elements to the realization of the AU's Agenda 2063, which envisages an integrated and connected Africa by 2063. Mr. Speaker, I'm thrilled to state that under my leadership, Ghana has made significant strides in foreign policy, cementing our place as a respected voice on the African and global stage. It was during my tenure that Accra was unanimously chosen by the authority of heads of state and government of the African Union to host the Secretariat of the AFCFTA, a crucial phase in Africa's journey towards economic integration. We also secured Accra as hostess of the Climate Vulnerable Forum Secretariat, a grouping of 56 countries, reaffirming Ghana's commitment to leading the fight against climate change for vulnerable nations. As chair of ECOWAS for 2 successive terms, I had the privilege of guiding our region through challenges of political instability and economic recovery. Furthermore, Ghana secured a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for 2 years, allowing us to contribute meaningfully to global peace and security at a time of unparalleled changes. Indeed, it was Ghana that led the Security Council to adopt Security Council Resolution 2667, which provides for the United Nations to pay from assessed contributions 75% of expenses of UN peacekeeping operations in Africa, a matter that had been in controversy and unresolved for several years. Additionally, Ghana witnessed a moment of immense pride when Shirley Ayoko Botchwey, a distinguished Ghanaian, was elected as Secretary General of the Commonwealth. The first time a Ghanaian and an African woman has held this esteemed position. I hope the House will join me to extend hearty congratulations to our Foreign Minister, Honorable Shirley Ayoko Botchwey. Yeah. It is a prestigious position, and I'm sure she'll be a successful Secretary General and bring honor to Ghana. Another feather in the cap of Ghana's recent foreign policy has been the attainment this year of full membership of l'Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, OIF, of which we have been an associate member for some 18 years. Our country, one of the few to be full members of both the Commonwealth of Nations and La Francophonie, has the opportunity to play a constructive role as a bridge between the Anglophone and Francophone worlds, particularly in Africa, enhancing our influence. These milestones reflect my administration's dedication to advancing Ghana's interests and strengthening our standing in the international community. Mr. Speaker, there is a subject that continues to attract a lot of public discussion, and that is the call by some for a review of the 1992 Constitution, under which we have operated in this Fourth Republic for the past 32 years. Mr. Speaker, there is no perfect constitution anywhere in the world, and with all its shortcomings, I would say that this constitution has served us well. It has provided the platform for the longest period of uninterrupted, stable, constitutional democratic governance in our history. The Constitution does not kill the irritations of the democratic process. There's no Constitution that will satisfy the desires of those who do not believe in the democratic process. I would suggest that in the approach to the calls for a constitutional review, we should be guided by the old saying, festine lente, the Latin adage for hasten slowly. In this spirit, I'll be forwarding the document prepared and submitted to me by the Constitution Review Consultative Committee on proposals for the review of the Constitution, along with the concerns and suggestions raised, to the President-elect for his consideration as he prepares to assume the responsibilities of leadership. Mr. Speaker, elections are the main planks of the democratic structure. We have just had the 9th set of elections since 1992. The losing presidential candidate called the winner to congratulate him and made a public concession 14 hours after the close of polls, which it is widely agreed were conducted in a competent, free, and fair manner. I doubt there are many such examples anywhere in the world. Yes, we should condemn the outbreaks of violence that followed and the assumption some had that because a presidential candidate had conceded defeat, the winning party should feel emboldened to cause mayhem. It appeared at one stage that the outburst of violence would overwhelm the police, who, in my view, need to re-examine rapidly their methods for containing such incidents in the future. I say so without prejudice to the excellent job they did in supervising the electoral process itself. I'm hoping that we will soon reach the stage where the unnecessary tensions that are simulated to accompany our elections will disappear, and elections will become simply something that we do, and do without a fuss and with flair. The efficient, praiseworthy manner in which the Jean Mensa-led Electoral Commission has conducted the past two elections of 2020 and 2024, despite their challenges, is a significant contribution to this end. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take the opportunity of this august podium to congratulate again my friend, with whom I came into Parliament together for the first time in 1997, President-elect John Mahani Mahama. On his historic comeback victory of 7th December 2022. Assure him of my support and that of all well-meaning Ghanaians, and wish him well in his second term as President of the Republic. I take the opportunity also to congratulate Dr. Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, the Vice President-elect, the first woman to occupy that status in our history. Mr. Speaker, you and I have made history of a kind these past 4 years, and I must acknowledge the role you played in keeping steady the ship of state and the governance structures of our country. This was the first time the executive has to deal with not just a parliament with the slimest of majorities, but with a speaker from the opposition party. Mr. Speaker, we found a way to accommodate each other, and the government functioned successfully. I thank you. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity also to express my gratitude to the Council of State, under the chairmanship of its highly respected traditional ruler, Nana Otuosubo II Dramani, for the great help it has given me in helping to steer the ship of state to a successful end. Nana and the members of the Council, I thank you very much for your invaluable counsel. The Speaker, as I prepare to leave office on 7th January 2025, I do so with immense gratitude for the trust and confidence the people of Ghana has placed in me over the last 8 years. It has been the highest privilege of my life to serve as president of this great nation. I've done so with an unwavering commitment, boundless energy, and a deep love for Ghana, always guided by the belief that our nation's best years lie ahead. Together we have weathered storms, celebrated victories, and laid the foundation for a brighter, more prosperous future. Reflecting on this journey, I'm filled with pride for what we have accomplished, from the transformative policies in education and healthcare, to the strides in agriculture, digitalization, energy, governance, infrastructure, industry, and trade. These achievements are not mine alone. They also belong to every Ghanaian who has contributed to the collective effort of nation building. We've demonstrated that through unity, resilience, and determination, we can overcome even the greatest challenges. I'm confident that the progress we have made will inspire future generations to dream bigger, aim higher, and achieve more for our beloved Ghana. Speaker, as I take my final vow, I do so in the certain knowledge that our nation will go from strength to strength, and that freedom and justice has taken hold forever in our body politic. The Speaker, I'm happy to hand over a Ghana that is safe, secure, united, and firmly rooted in her attachment to democratic principles and respect for the rule of law. A nation that continues to shine as a beacon of peace and stability in an often troubled Africa and an uncertain world. I leave behind a Ghana that is thriving, one that has navigated significant global challenges with remarkable tenacity, whose economy is steadily rebounding, and whose institutions are operating effectively. It's a Ghana where the youth are being empowered with opportunities to channel their energies into meaningful and productive endeavors, where the arts are beginning to flourish, and where the elderly can grow old in safety and dignity, and continue to make meaningful contributions to society. I leave behind, Mr. Speaker, a Ghana that is working. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I thank you for your attention.
President Akufo-Addo, who just finished delivering his last State of the Nation address. In short now, we saw him exchanging pleasantries with the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Backbin there. And then you can also see in your shot the Vice President and 2024 flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party, Mahamudu Bawumia. And then, of course, the Chief Justice, Gertrude Torkornoo, is also there as well. I mean, the President has talked about his government's achievement in various sectors of the economy. He's talked about education, health, infrastructure, security, and a lot more. Let's head back to Parliament and listen more.
I, with all humility, convey the gratitude of the Parliament of Ghana to His Excellency the President for the message. The House has heard him. Honorable members, that was just a paraphrase. It wasn't a quote. The quote is, "Minkani ye kra." I thank His Excellency the President for setting the tone for, I believe, a very, very important national discourse as the state of the nation. And we do this with the core principle of unity in diversity. Democracy is about disagreeing to agree. And we are grateful that Ghanaians and all of you have committed yourself to this concept of multi-party democracy. I will, on your behalf, invite the leaders of the House to have a say. I have enjoyed this opportunity for many years, and I won't be the one to deny my colleagues the same opportunity. So we will start by listening to the minority front bench.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I'm grateful for the opportunity to thank His Excellency the President for the message on the state of the nation that he has just delivered. Mr. Speaker, I need to remind you that the people of Ghana have already given their verdict on the true state of the nation. And that verdict was very, very clear. Economic hardship, huge debt overhang, high youth unemployment, hopelessness, and more. We have come to the end of the road for what has been undoubtedly the worst government under the Fourth Republic. Honourable Speaker, this abysmal record was confirmed on December 7th when the people of Ghana returned the most overwhelming and emphatic vote of rejection of any government ever witnessed under the Fourth Republic. Mr. President, you will be remembered as the first president who was cushioned by the IMF when you began, and you are still being cushioned at the end of your term. Mr. President, you left something very important in your account. You left out an account of your promise to God to build him a cathedral. But Mr. President, Mr. President, I will leave that for you, between you and your God. Mr. President, let me remind His Excellency, Honourable Speaker, that his tenure in office will remain a timely reminder of how not to govern the country. But let me also be quick to assure the good people of Ghana that hope is on its way. In President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC, we can once again glean a brighter future from the throes of despair. Together we will work hard to lift ourselves from this historic low and reclaim our place, our glory as the Black Star of Africa once again. Fellow Ghanaians, we are comforted and strengthened by the following words of Scripture. And I'm quoting Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. And I quote, "And Moses said unto the people, Fear you not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them no more." Bye-bye, Mr. President. It is finished. With that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much.
Honorable members, I've taken note of all those who were on their feet and what they said. But it's now time for me to invite the majority leader, the leader of the House, to have a say.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words in response to the statement on the state of the nation delivered by His Excellency the President. Mr. Speaker, this is the man who, 1997, entered the Chamber of Parliament during the second Parliament of this Republic. He inspired the youth of this country through his advocacy. Hansa testifies of his great work in the chamber of this house. Then, as students, we sat at the gallery to observe and to take inspiration from him. Mr. Speaker, through resilience, through firmness of conviction, he tried over and over again and made it to the presidency. Mr. Speaker, today he has fulfilled a constitutional obligation to boldly deliver for Hansa his records in office for the 8 years. Mr. Speaker, it may be that for some political expedience, we may not appreciate what he has done for this country. But, Mr. Speaker, history, in its fair judgment, will state that there came an Akufo-Addo whose record in the educational sector of our country was unmatched and unequaled. Mr. Speaker, this is a man who is never afraid of challenges that confront him.
Honorable members, please, silence. Let's listen to the majority leader. Please.
Mr. Speaker, he has given us data, which data tells us the record he came to meet and the record he is leaving us with. Mr. Speaker, the Agenda 111, a very ambitious policy to revive our health sector and to provide for the needs, the health needs of the many vulnerable communities, Mr. Speaker, which is also unmatched, is there for all of us to see. Mr. Speaker, above all, this president and his government have demonstrated that they have what it takes to keep our country safe all around us. And by virtue of my being a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, I am able to say on authority the challenges our West African neighbors face in terms of security. This country is safe and secure, and it is a heaven for many West Africans who would want to invest in our country. This is a country we must be proud of. Mr. President, your country is proud of you. Democracy has experienced its best under your leadership. Today, we are being told that there's a new hope. That's no problem. It is supposed to be so. But soon, we will see the true colors of the umbrella. So, Mr. Speaker, I would want to say to my colleagues that you are yet to take over. We would be watching you for the next 4 years. And if indeed you have transformed, we will see with our naked eyes. This is a government that came into office and faced major challenge which confronted the world all over, but demonstrated resilience. This is a government that ensured that in spite of the COVID, all government sector workers were paid. This is a government that kept the lights on. This is a government that ensured that over 5.7 million Ghanaians had access to education. And Mr. Speaker, I would want to relate to this issue of free SHS. It took the grace of God for me to complete secondary education because my mom could not afford, my stepdad could not afford. It took the grace of God. And I know there were many Ghanaians who could not afford free SHS and because could not afford secondary education and had to stay at home. We know in our communities today, all those who could not get free SHS benefited from it when Akufo-Addo assumed office. Mr. Speaker, TVET was also implemented for those who are placed at the lowest ebb of fortune's wheel to also get advantage of getting technical education. This is it. This is the record that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is leaving us with. Mr. Speaker, posterity will be the utmost judge. And I repeat, soon and very soon, the Ghanaian people will see the true colors of this umbrella. I rest my case. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, please, let's be guided by the lessons of the wise saying that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go further, you go together. I'm sure, as honorable representatives of your people, you understand the full import of this wise saying. With this, honorable members, once again, let me thank all of you for creating a conducive environment and for assisting me to host His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We will now proceed to do what is expected of us, and that is to adjourn the sitting for today. Honorable members, the House stands adjourned till tomorrow. You don't want to come to work. Oh. Actually, we don't have time. And so I wanted you to come for us to do something tomorrow. But if you say you are available only on Monday, you prefer tomorrow. Monday. Honorable members, I get the sense of the House and will accordingly adjourn to Monday at 10 in the forenoon. The House is accordingly adjourned. You go around with him.
Right now, President Akufo-Addo exchanging pleasantries with the leadership of the House, both on the minority and majority side, and of course with the members of Parliament as well, some of whom he was in Parliament with from 1997 till 2009. And the Speaker of the House has adjourned the House to tomorrow there. But we will be getting more reaction from Parliament. We will try to get to speak to the Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, and also speak to the leadership of the minority as well. But President Akufo-Addo, who finished his State of the Nation address moments ago, talked about a number of things, including illegal mining, security. He also spoke about the just ended elections. He spoke about tourism. He spoke about health, education, digitalization as well. And of course, we want to have a conversation on the back of most of these topics that were discussed. And I have Colonel retired Festus Abuaje, who is a security analyst, joining me right now. Colonel, good to have you on the show. I believe you've been following throughout from beginning to end. And do I have you on the line?
Yes, I am. Please.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about security. President Akufo-Addo talked about security a lot. He spoke about the fact that during his tenure, they've recruited over 10,000 police officers into the service. He also spoke about the fact that they provided more than 1,000 homes for security officers. Also talked about the instrumental role the security have played to ensure that Ghana has not experienced any insurgency, although most of our West African neighbors have experienced so in the past few years. Let's talk about President Akufo-Addo's comments about his handling of the security in the past 8 years.
Well, thanks a lot. But in the security narrative, there is a mix of issues that you have lumped together. So let me, for instance, take the dimension of terrorism. It is a bit tricky to say that because some of our neighboring countries have been affected by terrorism, Ghana, as the exception, is a very significant achievement. We need to look at other factors like the ethnic diversities in some of these countries, the religious dimensions in those countries, for instance, their proximity to the sources of terrorism from the Maghreb, or if you like, from the Middle East and North Africa.
Right.
So in that context, we stand out as a people that we have a greater deal of ethnic diversity, but, coherence or cohesion. And we have a lot more religious tolerance, right, for instance. So therefore, it would rather have been a surprise if Ghana had been a target of some of these terrorist attacks. But having said that,
right,
the government has continued to maintain the safety and security of the country. It wasn't that decades ago Ghana was suffering from terrorism, and then all of a sudden it has ceased. It is that Ghana has, virtually not suffered any terrorist attacks in that context. So the government has done well by maintaining the status quo ante. Now, how it has done that, again, could be subject to some degree of debate and so on and so forth. Then there is the question of internal security, which is different from security of our borders.
Right.
So, yes, he did mention Boko, for instance. And
Festus, I would like you to hold on briefly for me. Let's cross over live to Parliament. We'll come back to you after that.
Trusting that John Dramani Mahama will come and end their hopelessness and despair. God bless. Well, sir.
The former minority leader Haruna Idrisu engaging the press there. We will be crossing over to Parliament intermittently if we have anything from there for you. And let's bring back Festus Abwaje, who's still on the line with me. You were making a point about internal security.
Yes, indeed, I was. Now, I think he mentioned the Boko conflict after narrating the peace, the stability that was restored to the Dagbon, kingdom.
Right.
And I think the government needs to be commended for ending the Dagbon conflict in that regard. But I think the president was not being wholly truthful about Boko. Because we all recall that the Boko conflict, granted that it has its roots in history from the 1930s and so on, conflagrated or escalated purely because the government's national security instruments, architecture, went to sleep with their eyes closed and allowed a rival chief to be installed in Nalerigo, which then became the trigger for the recent escalation, if I should put it that way. And on top of that, late last year, I suppose in October, having installed the chief and having allowed the chief, the rival chief, to remain in Nalerigo, this rival chief found his way into Boku, and again, there was another conflagration. Now, I argue very painfully that if all of these things happen and our national security architecture does not fail to pick up or does not pick up any signals, then we need to be worried. I cannot understand how, on the morning when the rival chief was to be installed, that was when a delegation flew by helicopter to Nalerigo and then told us that the conditions, the realities on the ground, the security situation on the ground was not conducive for the helicopter landing. So the delegation came back. But you and I know, and we've been asking questions. Granted that there is a military deployment, which is not there to resolve the root causes of the conflict, which is just there to de-escalate the tension and create an environment for the dialogue, the conciliation, the mediation and negotiation to go on. We hardly hear any efforts on the part of the government as to how it is resolving the fundamental, causes of this dispute. And I've been hesitantly, suggesting that given the politicization of this Boko conflict, for instance, we should not be surprised if any time from now, the Kusasis who see the NDC as their government also start flexing their muscles. So if we're not going anywhere as far as internal security is concerned, and particularly with regards to the Boko conflict, we are going to be saddled with this issue.
Right.
It is encouraging, though, that the incoming president-elect, or the incoming president, the president-elect, has had a stint with the Boko conflict when he was a vice president and president before he handed over. So he has a certain knowledge about the conflict, and I think he's already indicated that as soon as he takes office, he's going to be seriously engaged with the Boko conflict. We need to resolve that Boko conflict because, among others, given its proximity to the northern borders, any splits, in those communities rather will serve as, avenues for the terrorists probably to make inroads into the country.
Well, the president did admit that chieftaincy is becoming a growing cause of insecurity in the country, and that is what you've touched on. And then he also mentioned that the police should respond rapidly to violence, citing the pockets of violence and incidents of violence that happened after the December 7th elections. Let's talk about that. Are you happy with the police's response to the pockets of violence that were witnessed?
No, let's put the police response aside. You see, the timing of the president's remarks, which he had made a few days ago prior to this SONA, for me is very disingenuous. You see, if he was saying the same thing in January of 2017, then he was positioning his government or the policy stance of his government, constructively. But having served 8 years in office and then a day or two before leaving office, you then calling on the police to deploy new methods at containing or managing lawlessness. I can't understand. I cannot agree with the president because he is superintendent of all the brutalities. The recent one being the Democracy Hub demonstrations,
right,
which only yesterday I got to know.
Keddo, I would like you to hold on for me once again. Let's quickly cross over to Parliament. We'll come back and continue the conversation.
Very much, Honourable. And that is the Member of Parliament there. I'll talk to Honourable Sam George. Honourable Sam George did make some gesticulations while the President was speaking. Honourable, at some point you caught the attention of the public. You didn't seem impressed by the President's message on the state of the nation.
Well, the President came to mislead the House. I mean, he misled the House is a House of records. He misled the House when the President claims that he took over a country where the power was off, the lights were off. That's not true. In 2016, there was no doom. So today, as we speak, we have a debt of 2.7 billion in the energy sector. So the President cannot say he's leaving with the lights turned on. The lights are on with a huge debt that's sitting there. Yesterday they had to come and hurriedly lay the appropriation on account because they realized the folly of their actions when they failed to do that before Parliament rose before Christmas, because it was only during the Christmas break that they realized that they had to pay external coupons tomorrow. And that's why they quickly came to Parliament yesterday to lay on account. That's the recklessness of this government. It's not because they love the Ghanaian worker. It's because they're going to default on coupons on the Eurobond. That's why they couldn't have paid without getting that approval yesterday. That's why they rushed to the House yesterday. We ended up closing up at almost 8:30 p.m. yesterday. The President came to do a State of the Nations, failed to speak about the cathedral that he promised God, failed to speak about foreign exchange rates, the fact that he took over the currency, the US dollar at 4, and today the US dollar is around 17, failed to talk about petrol prices, failed to talk about any of the other things that affect the ordinary Ghanaian. The President did not just only come and peddle untruths, but he grossly misled the House. The President didn't say anything about the LGBTQ bill. He said he will sign it so long as the courts dispense of the case. The courts have dispensed of the case. It's been almost a month. So you see, the President clearly is completely out of touch. The President says that Agenda 111, he's completed a number of them. I think I now understand the President very well. You see, the President said Agenda 111. He counts the 111 as 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. Because out of 111, the President has only commissioned 3. And the 3 he's commissioned, let me state on record, there is no equipment in them. They're empty buildings, shell buildings. So he's not commissioned a single building. Yet the President comes to stand here and speak about it. The President clearly, it's unfortunate that we've been saddled with this, but like the Honorable Boa said, the Egyptians we see today, we shall see no more again. President Akufo-Addo is a masterclass in how not to lead a country. Political science students will study his governance on how you should not run a thriving economy into the ground. He's the first president to start his administration with an IMF program and exiting an IMF program. I mean, he clearly is not a president worth his salt.
Great. Thank you, Honorable Sam George, giving me his indication of what the true state of the nation may be. He does not believe that the president did paint a picture that paints or that talks about the real state of the economy, insofar as the president mentioned some of the facts and figures that they disagree with strenuously, for which reason they do not believe that enough has been done in terms of delivering on that. Earlier on, we spoke with the former minority, the Haruna Idrisu, but an incoming member of parliament is around. I'm sure he's going through his registration. Honorable Edem Agbana, incoming MP for Ketunov. Honorable, you've also been listening to the president, and for a party that is coming into office, the president says he has laid a solid foundation. He has laid a great platform for the NDC to build on. Certainly, that's something that you agree with.
No, I disagree with the president on those remarks. But let me first congratulate him and his team for handling the affairs of this country for the past 8 years. Certainly, there are some few things that we can applaud the president for. And generally, the verdict Ghanaians expressed on 7 December for me is the best verdict on the performance of this government. If indeed the economy is strong, if indeed you are leaving behind a solid foundation, the people of Ghana are discerning. They could have seen it. But you saw the way and manner in which they voted. It tells us that they certainly are not happy with the performance of this government. And they are counting on us, the NDC, led by President Mahama, to come and reset this country. When you look at the speech that Mr. President read, he left out very key but fundamental issues that are of concern to us as a people of Ghana. First one is the issue of unemployment. Why is the president not talking about the rates of unemployment? Why is the president not talking about the fact that Ghanaian workers across the country are not happy with their conditions of service? As we speak, you have CTAC and some other labor unions on strike at the tail end of your administration. So for me, these are the key issues that the president ought to have spoken about. But he chose to touch on a few things, and he claims that the data or statistics are not right. But I keep saying that in political communication, it is easy for you to pull out some data or statistics and create the impression that things are well. But the best way to measure the success of your economic policies is how Ghanaians are feeling in their pockets. And so let this be a guide to all of us, that it is easy to package lies and some statistics and create impressions with it. But the reception of the message lies with the person and how the person feels. And so if for me as a Ghanaian, 8 years ago, my salary could afford 30 bags of cement at the end of the month, and today my salary may have seen some nominal increment, but in terms of value, I'm not able to even buy 20 bags of cement. I cannot say that this economy is better than or has improved for me, because at the end of the day, the economy has to do with your interface with it and how you feel, the value of your asset, the value of your money and all of that. I think that, like our deputy minority leader said, President Akufo-Addo will be remembered for, or as the president who really was insensitive to the good people of Ghana. He will be remembered, or his tenure of office, the 8 years, will be remembered as how not to rule a country or how not to govern a country. But we are done with elections. We cannot continue complaining and analyzing what had happened in the past. That is why Ghanaians went to the polls and endorsed us. We are expecting that come January 7th, after President Mahama takes office, he and his team will quickly hit the ground running, and all of us will play our part, our role, to ensure that we reset this country, because Ghanaians voted for resetting Ghana and not for continuation of the current order of the day.
Thank you very much. That is a member of our incoming MP for Ketu North, giving us some understanding of what he makes of the address that have been delivered. We'll go to the other side and try and see if we can get more NPP MPs at least to speak. A lot more persons who've been able to speak here are NDC MPs who have given us a sense of what they feel is the true state of the nation. They don't believe that the president has been accurately representing the true state of the nation in terms of what he has been able to put out. It's a big debate that is going to go on. The president's legacy is on the line, and he himself recognizes and acknowledges that a lot of questions will be asked of him and his government and what he has been able to deliver in terms of what they've been able to do. We will get more and more reaction for former President John Akufo-Addo being wheeled out as the former president who really did come in here to listen to this address, as well as some justices of the Supreme Court. It's still the live coverage of Joy News in terms of the State of the Nation address. A number of top dignitaries now leaving the chamber after witnessing the delivery of the address by the president, and so a lot more chief justices of the Supreme Court are now leaving with commentary about the key issues that were discussed by the president of the Republic in his address. And so a lot more comments. We are going to get more reaction to.
Right, that's my colleague Kweku Asante, who's our parliamentary affairs correspondent, bringing us updates from Parliament right now. But let's have more conversations. And as I told you earlier, the president talked about a lot of things, including agric. And I've been joined via Zoom by Edward Karawe, who's the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. Edward, good to have you on the show. I remember last year, Peasant Farmers Association, which you used to lead them, complained about the drought that happened and the fact that they were not getting equipment to produce more food for the country. But the president, in his State of the Nation address today, did indicate that his government has modernized farming practices and his government has instituted measures to protect biodiversity as well. As you listened to the president, especially talk about his successes in agric during the past 8 years, what did you think? Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
Yeah. Good afternoon to you and then to those who are listening to us. I'm extremely honored to be on your platform. Let me make a correction. I'm not the General Secretary. I'm the Publicity Director for Center for Development, Research and Agro-Innovation. I would like to say that, well, I wanted, of course, you can't fault the president, because that is what he thinks the State of the Nation is. He writes it and he chooses what he should put there and what he should not put there. But we thought that he would be speaking the minds of Ghanaians, where the most popular things, the most unavoidable things should be raised. But unfortunately, it is not so. Now, in respect of the agric sector, you can see that it's unfortunate His Excellency came to be mentioning figures that were outmoded. When he was talking about maize production had gone up by 100%, and then rice production had gone up by 48%, and soybean by 150%. That was in 2020, So in his 2021 State of the Nation address, he brought those issues, which some of us challenged it, because that was not true, because immediately after that, we were not having maize in the country, soybean had all run out. Again, you can see that agriculture, which is the foundation of our economy, has not been has not done well. He failed to tell us, even with the Galamsey, though it appears he wants to admit that it's not the success have not been made the way we wanted. It is not just about admission. It's just about, the complicity of the state. Galamsey that now became a state-sponsored led illegality.
Okay.
The facts are on the ground for us. So the state watch on whilst we see, criminals mounting machinery in the middle of rivers and mining and destroying property that belongs to us and then the future. The state itself then gave licenses to people to go into our forest to destroy it forever. So it's not just about a criminality called Galamsey, but it is about the state complicity and the state-led activity. And then again, look, he has left us with no clarity as to food security in this country. I'll tell you that I am in the northern part of the country, and I took this time to go around, and I'm going to Burkina Faso and the rest to see how things. Look, I'm telling you, the level of poverty that exists, that is staring in the face of the people, the lack of food stuff, the lack of basic necessity is overwhelming. And he has not mentioned that. I want to just also say that so far as security is concerned, I'm not a security expert, but as an ordinary Ghanaian, you know, I want to know that whenever I'm walking around, I am not, I am protected. Even our national security, the police, the behavior of the police, in terms of demonstrations, where people are demonstrating, the way they treat them, this national, to the people of this country.
Hello, Edward. Right, Edward's line seems to be breaking, but of course, let's bring back William Pepra, who is an associate professor at the Andrews University in Michigan. I understand we have Edward Caraway back on the line. Edward, can you hear me? Yes, we lost you momentarily. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that as an ordinary Ghanaian, and then I go on demonstration, which that the police should protect me. Unfortunately, no one is safe in this country again, so far as the police is concerned. So we are, whereas in external security they are talking about, you must first have internal security before you're talking about external security. Ghanaians, whether they are safe in their own homes, in their demonstration, in their carrying out their activities. So for me, the internal security is a very problematic thing for us. You know, again, when it comes to the international front, where he's talking about our foreign policy, after he's now here, we have got a secretariat. So what? Ghana is hosting the African Continental Free Trade. And so what? What does Ghana produce? Able to take advantage of the African market. You know, our agriculture is down. The 1D1F, they cannot access their raw materials. Over 80% of the 1D1F are supposed to have their raw materials from the agriculture sector. And if the agriculture is down, then you are simply saying that those factories cannot source their raw materials, and therefore they are just bound to collapse. You know, so you can see that Ghana has been badly mismanaged to the point where we are
Right, Edward, we seem to be having technical challenges connecting to you, but thank you very much for speaking to us, Edward Caraway there. Let's go back to the United States and engage William Pepra, who is an associate professor at Andrews University. William, you've been with us all throughout this broadcast. The president made mention that Ghana is not broke. The economy is not broke. Well, before you answer that question, though, let's head straight to the House of Parliament.
Then said about doomsday and all that. So the data sets that His Excellency the President provided clearly speak to themselves. Okay, and these are not data that he generated. These are data that is coming from the Statistical Service of Ghana. And of course, if Mr. Amabua or anybody from the NDC has alternative data, let them put it across. The fact is that we have gone through challenging times as a country. And His Excellency the President, in delivering the State of the Nation address, alluded to the challenges that we've gone through as a country. Look, before COVID struck, we had problems. We inherited a challenged economy. We inherited an economy that was going through an IMF program. It clearly said that there was something wrong with our economy. That's why Mr. Mahama went to the IMF. What was the reason? Slowdown in Chinese economy was the reason why he went to the IMF. His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo comes. And I recall so clearly when he delivered his first State of the Nation address, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, then minority leader, posed the question, where is the fiscal space? How are you going to roll out all the interventions and the social programs that you are promising the people of Ghana? His Excellency the President, through his finance minister, passed significant legislation that allowed him to do that. You remember the Capping and Realignment Act that created space for him to roll out the significant social intervention policies that he has promised. We inherited a challenged energy sector. It required significant funding to deal with the problems therein. Government didn't have a choice than to borrow, because you inherit an economy where almost 99.7% of your total tax revenue goes into servicing your debt, paying your wages and salaries, and paying statutory payments. Every other investment that the government has to do is through debt. So you needed to deal with the energy sector problem, which we inherited. You needed to deal with the banking sector problem, which we inherited. These two put our finances in jeopardy. You recall the below the line reporting that Ken Ofori-Atta reported on in his 2009 budget in Parliament. Then 2020 COVID strikes. It compounds your problem. Its impact on Ghana can certainly not be the same as Togo. It cannot be the same as Burkina Faso, because they did not have these problems. You borrow to deal with the COVID problem. It compounds your already financial situation, which was in itself not in the best of shapes. Then government says that, look, we have dealt with COVID, but our finances are not in the best of shapes. How do we collectively as a country, knowing very well that when we go back to the IMF, the conditions that they will give us is cut expenditure, raise additional revenue. That has always been the prescription. So government presents a budget to Parliament, says that, look, let's raise revenue internally. These are the expenditure cuts, measures that I'm rolling out in the budget to control government expenditure. But that will not be enough. We need to raise additional revenue. So he brings the budget with the e-levy and other revenue measures contained in there. Our friends in the NDC approve the budget. They approve the appropriation and say, I'm not going to allow you to raise the revenue. What do you think was going to happen? The ratings agencies was going to downgrade the economy. Are these matters of fact or is somebody's conjecture? It happened right here in this chamber behind us. It had consequences. You started the capital flight. We saw it. Because investors did not have assurance of revenue to pay for their investment when they became due. Then in the midst of that, there is a war in Russia, Ukraine, that quadruples global freight cost. What do you think was going to happen to our economy, which is largely import dependent? What do you think was going to happen? Freight cost moves from average 2,500 to in excess of 15,000 US dollars. It was going to lead to inflation. The breach of the law that Parliament itself entertained in Section 22 of the Public Financial Management Act, which enjoins Parliament to do three things: pass the budget, pass appropriation, and approve all revenue measures by 31st December. We breached it. There were consequences. And then we turn around and say that Akufo-Addo has mismanaged the economy. How is the borrowing to pay the energy sector cost Akufo-Addo's fault? How is borrowing to deal with the banking sector Akufo-Addo's fault? What were the alternatives? What would have been the consequences if he hadn't taken those decisions? How is COVID-19 Akufo-Addo's fault? But that's the reality of the economy that this government inherited and the work that it has done. Look at our GDP growth rate in 2022, 2021, 2022. It sank to its lowest. But we've tried to build back based on all the realities that we inherited that confronted this government. But of course, maybe we did not carry the Ghanaian people along sufficiently enough, and they sang all sorts of tunes. Incompetent, mismanage the economy, and that they have the magic wand to deal with all the problems. Now they've come, they are telling us we should commence a process of fasting and prayer to solve the problems of this country. Why? When Mr. Mahama was making the promises, he didn't know that we could pray and fast at that time. But look, I wish them well. This is the only country we have. And I wish any government well. Unfortunately, I'm not coming back to Parliament. But I know that my colleagues will support them so that they can work to improve the lot of our people. That is our paramount interest. But propaganda, lies, mischief, the kinds of things that they said is going to haunt them. And the good people of this country will see whether the Akufo-Addo government did what was right in the circumstances of what it found itself in or not. It's only posterity and history. And that's what Afenyomakin reminded them, that history will look kindly on His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo.
Right, that's the Member of Parliament for 2nd D who has been defending the record of President Akufo-Addo. He says he's not to blame for the COVID-19 pandemic, and he has reiterated the point the president made that the economy is bouncing back. Let's go back to Zoom and engage Williams Prepra, who is an associate professor at the Andrews University in Michigan, United States of America. I was asking you the point the president made that the country is not broke. And in fact, he said that he's handing over the country with gross international reserves of $8 billion compared to the $2.5 billion. That was handed over to him in 2017. My question to you is the president right that the country is not broke?
Let me say that that particular statement is inaccurate. Let's remember that this report is sooner for 2024, so the president must tell us what happened in 2024, looking at the financial statement. I'm going to just state the technical definition for when we say a country is broke. It simply means that that country cannot meet its domestic and external financial obligations. That country loses access to international credit markets, and that country faces economic challenges. Other features are that a country that is broke faces austerity measures, debt restructuring, and then that country seeks international assistance and restore to stability. This is the technical definition of when we say a country is broke, and that is what we face in 2024. Technically, the government of Ghana in 2023, as at December, told the world that we are not going to pay our debt. So we defaulted. We've gone through debt restructuring in 2024. And then we are going to start making repayment of our loan starting tomorrow. So technically in 2024, Ghana was broke. However, if we start making the coupon payment tomorrow, then we can say that we are not broke. So if I'm just looking at the statement which covers 2024, Ghana was broke. If we are able to make our coupon payment tomorrow, which the president noted that we are going to pay $346 million coupon payment tomorrow, then Ghana will be deemed as not being broke. Ghana will now we are classified as a high debt distressed country. Our debt to GDP rate, as of 2016, when the NPP government took over, was 56.8%. The president gave us a debt to GDP ratio of 74.6%. So technically, a higher debt to GDP ratio compared 2016 to 2024. So if I'm to use a word, as at 2024, we were higher in terms of debt to GDP. We have a higher debt distress as compared to 2016. The president gave some indicators. He talked about the gross international reserve, $8 billion. For us finance people and economics people, we pay attention to the net international gross reserve at the moment, which is around $4.92 billion. What this means is that, yes, we have been able to keep this reserve. However, we stopped paying our debt. And if we have gone ahead to make those payments, we have not received any assistance from the IMF. We have not had a debt structuring that brought us a reduction in our debt of 4 billion, the situation would have been worse. So,
right.
In the technical terms, in 2024, Ghana was broke. But if we are tomorrow, we are able to make our first coupon payments, then we move from that level of saying a country, Ghana is broke, and then we move on to a country that is ensuring financial distress.
All right. Williams Prepra is an associate professor at the Andrews University in Michigan. Thank you very much. Let's wrap up with Colonel retired Festus Aboagye there, who is still on the telephone line with us. You were speaking about the president's comment on the police's response to the electoral violence that happened weeks ago. Hello, Colonel, can you hear me? Right, we seem to have lost him there, but this has been our extended coverage of the State of the Nation address. I understand we have him back on the line. Colonel Festus Aboagye, kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you. If you can hear me, I was asking you, you were talking about the fact that the president said the police's response to electoral violence that characterized the elections that just ended was a bit slow.
Well, it was ill-timed. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Yes, it was very ill-timed. Look, 4 years ago, to be precise, we lost 8 lives during the 2020 elections. Now, prior to that, during the voter registration exercise in 2020, we lost 2 lives. In 2019, at Ayawaso West Wogon, we saw the brutalities that were meted out under the pretext of some intelligence about arms and ammunition being stored in a certain house to innocent citizens. At Ejura 2021 or 2022, we know what happened and how we lost lives. The president has never taken any public platform to pronounce himself on these strategies.
Okay.
Now, at the 11th hour of exiting, he is calling on the police. Where is the apology? Where is that responsibility of a commander-in-chief? Minimum to institute investigations or direct investigations into these atrocities, barring the one by Emil Schultz. So there's a lot of things, there are a lot of things that he said about security, which are actually political statements. Right. Beyond that, if we want to look at the nitty-gritty, the fine details of what Ghana's security is, especially human security, will be found wanting.
Okay.
So, of course, the incoming administration should take his advice or admonitions and try to correct all the lapses, all the wrongs that occurred during the past 8 years.
Right.
If we don't do that and rather build upon these lapses, I think we'll be running the gauntlet.
Okay.
In terms of our national security.
Okay, Colonel Festus Aboagye is a security analyst. Thank you very much. And earlier we were joined by Edward Karawe and Williams Prepra. This has been our extended coverage of President Akufo-Addo's very last State of the Nation's address as President of the Republic. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Bye for now.